Barry Caffrey there. And joining me now, listening to that, was Suzanne Munna from the Social Housing Action Campaign Group. Firstly, Suzanne, can I ask what your reaction is to the announcements from the government today?
Well, we think it's just going to absolutely continue to fuel the housing crisis. I mean, as the report pointed out, this is actually the second time that Sadiq Khan has revised housing, affordable housing targets downwards. And it clearly didn't work last time, except for giving a very brief bounce in the number of homes that were being built. But it speaks to a much wider problem with the government obsession with building as purely a numbers game. Building new homes is purely a numbers game to them. And this completely ignores the huge structural problems that there are in the housing market. And even the framing of the problem as being one of a lack of development, when actually, even as the speaker from the Home Builders Federation really kind of gave the game away, in a sense that actually the crisis is one of affordability rather than being one of supply. We need to have more homes that are affordable rather than just building a whole load of new homes that are going to stand empty, or they're going to try and push out through other sort of lease arrangements like shared ownership. So we think this is completely misunderstanding the nature or ignoring the true nature and structural nature of the housing crisis, really, and therefore coming up with completely the wrong solution that didn't work last time and won't work this time.
Of course, we've heard today, and we've been reporting about it this term around, 35% of nothing is still nothing. But can you understand the point of view of the Home Builders Federation, who are saying with lower targets, we might actually get more homes built for Londoners? Because right now, that is not even happening at all.
But they said that the last time when they were urging Sadiq Khan to reduce the targets, Sadiq Khan reduced the targets. It did, like I say, briefly produce a bounce in the number of homes that were being built. But then, as the report said, it plummeted. The numbers plummeted after that. So, what's their evidence that actually this solution, which has been tried and failed before, is going to work this time around? And actually, what we need to be seeing is, and I think also one of the problems that we would kind of identify in all of this discourse is that the government is relying on the big housing organisations, the big housing developers, to deliver on basically what should be public housing, the affordable and social rents. And social rents are the ones we would prefer. I mean, affordable can be anything up to 80% of full market rate, which still puts it out of the price range of a lot of working people in the capital. So what we would really like to see is far more of a focus on direct building by councils, with the labour directly employed by those councils. That's the only way to guarantee that we get the number of homes that need to be built. And also to start looking at rent controls in the capital, which a lot of other capital cities in the world have. And we need to be looking at how those can help cool the price of renting, so that there isn't so much pressure on the lower end of housing affordability.
There's obviously clearly a real discrepancy as to where you are, campaigners around social housing, and then the other side of that coin in terms of what the Home Builders Federation are saying. What is it that you would like to see happen to help improve the numbers of affordable homes being built, when actually what Home Builders Federation is saying is there's not just the targets here, it's also the cost of building properties, new homes, social housing within London, which is not feasible. That's why they're unable to do what's required of them.
But when you look at the Home Builders Federation and you look at their members, they are making billions and billions of pounds every year. That is a huge part of the problem, is that they have to keep these massive profits and massive profit margins. What we would say is, if you look at building through the councils instead, and if you invest in council housing, it has huge benefits. It pays for itself very, very quickly. I mean, London, is paying in taxpayers are paying more than £5 million per day on emergency housing. We can start to get people out of emergency housing into council housing. And we can guarantee what those rents are going to be, and the councils then have control over what those rents are, and we can keep them genuinely affordable. The problem with relying on the big development companies is that they have to make big profits out of it. Otherwise, it's not worth their while doing. They're not doing it to meet a social need. They are doing it to
Mhm.
meet a commercial need, which is, I mean, that is in the nature of their work. That is what they're there for. And we're saying that this is not the best solution. We've tried it their way. They've had their way for a long time, and all we've seen is this worsening of the affordability crisis in housing.
Thank you for joining me this afternoon on Radio London.
Thank
And
you.